Hey, like and subscribe or whatever people say. It's today, April 16th. Let's see. From there, we'll talk. We'll go through. We'll talk. And we did so there. All right. So did this again. You'll have the choices coming up moving forward. And, since you guys made such a big deal of it, after I was playing last night, I went ahead and took pictures. I did play defense, and then our goalie got hurt, so I had to go in for like 3/4 of the game. And we did lose because we did not have all of our players there, and I'm not the best scorekeeper. But yeah, we lost.
How many goals were scored?
4.
Oh my god.
I feel the same.
Hey, was that a
way.
before and after picture?
This is when I was playing defense during the very beginning of the game, and this is like halftime.
What are your teammates?
What are your teammates
like?
Not much. I don't know.
They don't think. Oh my god, this guy is so weird.
Well, they're used to me by now. Most people are used to me.
tomorrow.
But they're usually really happy because I step in and play goalie if no one else wants to.
How do you know your team? Do you know like your team like from like
This is random. You
They
just sign
didn't
up for
kill
the
you, give
league,
up all
they
the
just assign you.
goals.
I have
Oh
one
wait,
of
they
my
have refs?
best friends from junior highs on my team and his kid.
Wait, dude,
This
do
looks
they
like
not care that
Matthew,
you
guess what? I won a game last night too.
Did you also win?
Yeah, but I pulled my cap and I was about to shoot.
You can't say that.
My game was canceled
Way
last
out.
night.
I came out of mine uninjured, unlike our other
Wait,
team.
you guys have games?
Yes, Reed.
Did you win?
Did your teammates play a game
Now you
with
got
canceled goals?
So, I mean, of those 4 that were scored against me, I would legit say one of them was on me, where it was a corner kick, and I tried to jump for it, and my fingertips just touched it. But we did not have our normal defenders in, and like one of them, like they would just score from like undefended 12 yards out and just boot the ball, and I just not my reflexes aren't fast enough to get in front of it.
What
So-
are your jerseys?
And then they're not jerseys; they're just gray T-shirts.
Really?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm part of. The old man's league. Yes.
Okay, don't take the points away from me. But what are Mexicans on the other team?
Oh my god.
Yeah, but there's also some on our team too. They're all throughout the league. They like to play soccer a lot.
Whoa!
Hey, he said it. He said it.
They do. There's a lot of them on our league. They really like to play soccer.
Wait, what field do you play at?
Noblesville. It's
Like-
it's like the smock auction field.
Wait, is there like 2 sides? Like, never mind.
Just Yo-yo.
Is it like senior citizen soccer?
Kind of. I mean, we have some people like I'm one of the younger people.
That is not
That's crazy.
Well, you should invite me one time. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
beer bellies on the team.
They're just guys who've been playing soccer for like 50 years. So.
Well, you should invite me to the game. I'll help you guys out.
That one guy's calves is pretty big right
Yeah.
there.
There's like a handful of kids in their 20s, but they're rare. Most of them are older than me.
Yo,
Wait, can I join? Can we
Yeah,
join?
You just gotta be 18. Yep.
Oh, I can technically act like
It's
everybody.
so sick.
I can't.
I could.
Could be.
Matthew, yes.
Yeah, I'm like Messi. How much? Yeah, Percy Celebration Day!
Percy's not bad. Like, it's gotta go bad to start.
Yeah.
Percy's so chubby.
I
He's
figured
so fat.
as much as
Oh my
I
gosh.
I would try
That's a
to
big old ball.
Huge, bro.
I have to send it to my
Oh my God.
family group.
Wait, is today
They all
Percy's
doubted
birthday? Wait, is today Percy's birthday?
No, it was April 9th.
Bro, nobody
But
cares
he
about
was
Percy,
adopted
dog.
July
He's the
10th.
fattest dog. He's so.
You are fatter than him.
My dog
Doesn't have points?
My dog is 10 times better.
Well, I would have
Saying
to
that.
charge them both points, but they just
No,
Charge
but
them
no,
both
but we're
points.
best friends.
yes.
No, we are
Oh,
not.
I thought you hated her.
It's kind of what I figured too.
Wait, what?
That's not exciting. Wait, it's exciting because it's Percy that.
That's kind of what I figured.
How was it Percy's day?
And I get like a little
It was
balloon to
Robert.
take home to him.
Celebration
Don't have a balloon?
Yes, you do.
Okay, I do, but I wasn't gonna give it to you.
Yes, you will.
Maybe I will. We'll see. So,
There you go.
as far as
Bro, did you get peer pressure to do that?
I did a little bit.
No, he didn't.
No, I did not. I like Rudolph. She's my favorite. I'll never tell someone.
Is she holding you
I worked at
hostage?
the Grouchy Walk. Sandra Dog's my favorite.
Yeah, I can't say that.
Yes, you can.
He's Buddhist. He worships Buddhists.
Yeah, I'm.
That's not how Buddhism works. But
I'm just kidding. He meditates. He meditates on his own ground.
Not the same thing.
you guys are fun. We should teach things at school sometime.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like Percy.
That's something you're really
As far as the reading goes, yes, I am aware it is a very accelerated schedule. And no, I don't expect all of you to be able to keep up with it. If you fall behind the reading, that's okay. I'm not angry at you, I'm not disappointed with you. It's just one of those things where it's just the way things shake out. It's why the way things will be is when we get to test next week, which will be Tuesday of next week, the way I'm trying to set it up is that if you are not ready to take it on Tuesday, you can still get all the way up to like an A minus B plus, even if you want to take it late. Because I know some of you guys are going to need more time to read it, so that's how I'm trying to set things up. So if you're not to where we are, okay, not an issue. I'm just trying to go through and explain things to help you out, and then next week will be sort of the same thing. It just means there's going to be some spoilers. Here goes.
Will that be your like final test or like
You've already taken your final
Okay.
in my class.
Yay!
It was your narrative speech. I do your final at the beginning of the 9 weeks as opposed to the end of the 9 weeks, as I figure most of you don't want to give a speech at the end of the year.
No.
I do give you the option next week. If you want to redo your speech, you can.
Wait, what did I get on?
That's where so Monday, I will put your narrative speech back on there so you can see what you got, and it'll go into that final spot so you can see. If you want to end up changing it, you're more than welcome to, but yeah. As opposed to making you worry about it at the end, I do it back at the beginning.
That is genius.
I would rather not do all of them.
What's up?
How long do we have to take the test if you do it after?
Until the last day of school.
Okay, because I'm sleeping.
I figured that's why I was trying to help. I'm not trying to attack you.
Apparently
Kyle!
Wasn't the speech reading option to stand there to get extra? It was like a long speech, like 2 minutes.
Wait.
You are correct on all those parts.
Oh, I remember. And you had it was like the book. You had to like summarize the book or something.
Yes. Or you could do a story about your own life where you learned a lesson, or you could have created a family.
So I heard that was the final.
That was your final. There's no other final. In my class, your last grade for me that's going to be new is your test next week, and then that's it. Your Princess Bride test next Tuesday is it. Are we good?
I'm celebrating with Kyle. He's very happy.
I can tell by his excitement. Yes. All right.
I'm the leader. I'm the one to trust. Whatever it takes.
My goal today is one, I'm not reading with you for the most part. I'm going to read the reunion scene to sort of go through that and tell you what happens in the reunion scene, because we'll sort of talk about the reunion scene. I'll talk a little bit about stuff coming up in Chapter 6. Tomorrow's discussion, my plan for tomorrow is you have a choice. The discussion tomorrow is not about Princess Bride. It's not a reading discussion. It's a about life discussion. And so it's going to sort of connect to the end of the year and also going to connect like the previous discussions we've done. If you don't want to do that and you would rather read, you are more than welcome to read tomorrow instead. If you want to put in your AirPods and headphones and you want to just focus on reading and tune me out because you think the reading is the thing you need to get done, no worries, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, I have a discussion idea that's been sort of bopping around in my head that I want to get out and sort of go over with you guys, and that'll be what we do tomorrow. If it doesn't last the whole class period, fine, we'll spend the rest of the time reading. Those of you who are already reading, you're good, you're already reading. But that's my plan for tomorrow to try to help you out. Questions as far as tomorrow goes. And then Monday, we're not reading either. Monday, I'm talking about how the book ends and sort of wrapping up final discussion. And then Tuesday, you have a chance for test or reading. Wednesday of next week, then that's where I start telling you guys stories and stuff like that. Good to go from there? Yeah. I feel the same way. So, now that we know who the Man in Black is, even though technically Wesley died way back with the whole pirate thing, now we should know that the pirate thing is no more, and we get the backstory on how Wesley was alive, which is going to bring us to the end of Chapter 5 here in a moment. So we got past them, we got to that, we got to the fighting, we got to those parts, and then we did the iocane powder, so now we have, let's see, Inigo is beaten, Fezzik is beaten, now Vizzini has been beaten, and now the Man in Black technically has been beaten, and the Man in Black at the very end of yesterday was revealed, and now we know who the Man in Black is.
Who beat the Man in Black?
Cliff.
Who did beat the Man in Black?
Cliff. Well, technically Buttercup. Well, no, actually, she was an accomplice.
Depends on how you look at it, but I would say Buttercup beat the Man in
No,
Black
she was an
because
accomplice.
technically she's the one that pushed him down the big hill, and so if she got away and she was scot-free because he was at the bottom of the hill and she was at the top, and she could have just run off and
In
been
the
like,
movie, he lived.
girl power!
In the
But
movie,
she
he
didn't,
lived.
and instead she was like, I love you! And then down she went and followed him.
Like, he died like another way in like the movie.
So, and then the reunion scene, this is the part that gets cut out. So I'm going to read the little part that Goldman puts into it, and then I have reunion scene here, and I'll even put reunion scene up there for those of you who are visual learners so you get a chance to see that. But I'm going to give his little blurby backstory into it first. Let's see, reunion scene, no, reunion scene, reunion, there it is. Reunion scene. It slid down on me.
And you'll see.
Page 193 is where Goldman interrupts when we have, actually I'm going to back up to 192 when they first start to do their little reunioning. Wesley indeed had not the least idea that he was racing dead into the fire swamp. We'll talk about the fire swamp too. He knew only, once Buttercup was down at the ravine bottom beside him, that to climb out would take, as Prince Humperdinck had assumed, too much time. Wesley noted only that the ravine bottom was flat rock and heading in the same direction that he wanted to follow. So he and Buttercup fled along, both of them very much aware that gigantic forces were following them and undoubtedly cutting into their lead. The ravine grew increasingly sheer as they went along, and Wesley soon realized that whereas once he probably could have helped her through the climb, now there was simply no way of doing so. He had made his choice, and there was no changing possible. Wherever the ravine led was their destination, and that, quite simply, was that. At this point in the story, my wife wants it known that she feels violently cheated not being allowed the scene of reconciliation on the ravine floor between the lovers. My reply to her, and that was actually Morgenstern writing that. And then now here's Goldman interrupting Morgenstern, who is interrupting Morgenstern. Not confusing. This is me, Goldman. And I'm not trying to be confusing, but the above paragraph that I'm cutting into now is verbatim Morgenstern. Verbatim means word for word. He was continually referring to his wife in the unabridged book, saying that she loved the next section, or she thought that all in all the book was extraordinarily brilliant. Mrs. Morgenstern was rarely anything but supportive to her husband, unlike some wives I could mention. Sorry about that, Helen. But here's the thing. I got rid of almost all the intrusions when he told us what she thought. I didn't think the device added a whole lot, and besides, he was always complimenting himself through her, and today we know that hyping something too much does more harm than good, as any defeated political candidate will tell you when he pays his television bills. The thing of it is, I left this particular reference in because for once, I totally happen to agree with Mrs. Morgenstern. I think it was unfair not to show the reunion. So I wrote one of my own, what I felt Buttercup and Wesley might have said. But Hiram, my editor, felt that made me just as unfair as Morgenstern here. If you're going to abridge a book in the author's own words, you can't go around sticking your own in. That was Hiram's point. And we really went round and round, arguing over, I guess, a period of a month in person, through letters, on the phone. Finally, we compromised to this extent. This, what you're reading in the regular type is strict Morgenstern. Verbatim, word for word. Cut, yes. Changed, no. But I got Hiram to agree that Harcourt would at least print up my scene. Valentine has agreed to do the same, and now that this is back with Harcourt, they've taken it up again, too. It's all of 3 pages. Big deal. And if any of you want to see what it came out like, drop a note or a postcard to blah, 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 blah. Don't forget to include your return address, blah, blah, blah. It would really upset me if I turned out that to be the only modern American writer who gave the impression that he was with a generous publishing house. They all stink. Sorry about that, Mr. Jovanovich. So let me just add here that the reason they are so generous in paying this giant postage bill is because they fully expect nobody to write in. So please, If you have the least interest at all, or even if you don't, write in for my reunion scene. You don't have to read it, I'm not asking that, but I would love to cost those publishing geniuses a few dollars because, let's face it, they're not spending much on advertising my books. So let me repeat the address. Blah, blah, blah. Ask for your copy of the reunion scene. This has gone longer than I planned, so I'm going to repeat the Morgenstern paragraph I interrupted. It'll read better. Over and out. And that's where it continues. And there's a little footnote in there where it says now you can actually go online and get it, or you can actually go and email them, and they've made it much, much easier than what it was originally.
I skipped that.
If you go in, here's what you get. And so I have printed out here, and then I scanned it and put it up there. This is the reunion scene from Princess Bride. When you mail in, this is what you get back. Dear reader, thank you for sending in, and no, this is not the reunion scene, because of a certain roadblock named Kermit Shog. Now, as soon as bound books were ready, I got a call from my lawyer, Charlie. You may not remember, but Charlie's the one I called from California to go down to the Blizzard and buy the Princess Bride from the used book dealer. Anyway, he usually begins with Talmudic humor, wisdom jokes, only this time he just says, Bill, I think you better get down here. And before I'm even allowed a why, he adds, right away, if you can. Panicked, I zoomed down, wondering who could have died. Did I flunk my tax audit? What? His secretary lets me into his office, and Charlie says, this is Mr. Shog, Bill. And there he is, sitting in the corner, hands on his briefcase, looking exactly like an oily version of Peter Lorre. I really expected him to say, give me the falcon, you must, or I'll be forced to kill you. Mr. Shog is a lawyer, Charlie goes on. And this next was said, kind of underlined, he represents the Morgenstern estate. I know you guys don't know who Peter Lorre is. He's an old actor, and he was in a movie called The Maltese Falcon. But he played bad guys in like every show he was ever in, and he was always like the slimy sidekick to the main bad guy. And so that's what you sort of see him there in different roles of him.
He was like
One of his roles, he was bald.
Looks like Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, he normally just played a bad guy, so that's who they're saying he looks like. Now, who knew? Who could have dreamed such a thing existed in a state of a man dead at least a million years that no one ever heard of? I mean, over here anyway. Perhaps you will give me the falcon now, Mr. Shog said. Okay, that's not true. What he said was, perhaps you would like a few words with your client alone now. And Charlie nodded, and out he went, and once he was gone, I said, Charlie, my God, I never figured. And he said, did Harcourt? And I said, not that they ever mentioned. And he said, ugh, the grunting sound lawyers make when they know they've backed a loser. What does he want? A meeting with Mr. Jovanovich, Charlie answered. Now, William Jovanovich is a pretty busy fella, but it's amazing when you're confronted with a potential multi-billion-dollar lawsuit how fast you can wedge in a meeting. We all trooped over. All the Harcourt brass was there. I'm there, Charlie, Mr. Shog, who would sweat in an igloo, he's so swarthy, is streaming. Harcourt's lawyer started things. We're terribly sorry, Mr. Shog. It's an unforgivable oversight, and please accept our sincerest apologies. Mr. Shog said, that's a beginning, since all you did was defame and ridicule the greatest modern master of Florides prose, who also happened to be for many years a friend of my family. Then the business head of Harcourt said, all right, how much do you want? Big mistake. Money! Mr. Shog cried. You think this is petty blackmail that brings me together? Resurrection is the issue, sir. Morgenstern must be undefiled. You will publish the original version, and now look at me, in the unabridged form. I said, well, I'm done with it, I swear. That's just the reunion scene business we printed up, but there's not likable to be a rush on that, so it's all passed as far as I'm concerned. But Mr. Shog wasn't done with me. You, who dared to defame a master's characters, was going to put your words in their mouths? No, sir. No, I say. Oh, come on, man, it's just a little thing, like a couple pages only. Then Mr. Jovanovich started talking softly. Bill, I think we might skip sending out the reunion scene just now, don't you think? I made a nod. He turned to Mr. Shaw. We'll print the unabridged. You're a man who is interested in immortality for his client, and there aren't as many of you around in publishing as there used to be. You're a gentleman, sir. Thank you, from Mr. Shaw. I like to think I am, at least on one occasion. For the first time, he smiled. We all smiled. Very buddy-buddy now. Then, an addendum from Mr. Shaw. Oh, yes! Your first printing of the unabridged will be 100,000 copies. So far, there are 13 lawsuits, only 11 involving me directly. Charlie promises nothing will come to court and that eventually Harcourt will publish the unabridged, but legal maneuvering takes time. The copyright on Morgenstern runs out in early 1978. This book came out in like 1971 or 2, I think. And all you who wrote in are having your names put alphabetically on a computer, so whichever happens first, the settlement or the year, you'll get your copy. The last I was told, Kermit Shaw was willing to come down on his first printing, provided Harcourt agreed to publish the sequel to The Princess Bride, which hasn't been translated into English yet, much less published here. The title of the sequel is Buttercup's Baby, S. Morgenstern's glorious examination of courage matched against the death of the heart. And actually you have the first chapter of that in the end of this book. So when you get to the end of this one, they actually put the first part of the translation in there with like a foreword by Stephen King. You find out he actually is from Florida and has Florinese history, and there's like a connection.
Stephen King.
Yeah, he's a guy that's author who writes books. I'd never heard of it, naturally, but there's a PhD candidate in Florinese Lit up at Columbia who's going through it now. I'm kind of interested in what he has to say. William Goldman. Yeah.
Will the reunion scene be advertised?
No. It will not. I might make a reference to why it exists, but that would be it. There's stuff in there, but it's not a part that you can really read. So that's what was sent out whenever people would mail in. But when it got to 1978, he added in this next little part here. And so this was added in 1978. P.S. I'm really sorry about this, but you know the story that ends, disregard previous wire, letter follows? Well, you've got to disregard that business about the Morgenstern copyright running out in 1978. That was a definite boo-boo, but Mr. Shaw, being Florinese, has trouble naturally with our numbering system. The copyright runs out in 87, not 78. Worse, he died. Mr. Shaw, I mean. Don't ask, how could you tell? It was easy. One morning, he just stopped sweating. So there it was. What makes it worse is that the whole affair is now in the hands of his kid, named, wait for it, Mandrake Shaw. Mandrake moves with all the verve and speed of a lizard flaked out on a riverbank, which means, like a sloth, does not move at all. The only good thing that's happened in this whole mess is I finally got a shot at reading Buttercup's Baby. Up at Columbia, they feel it's definitely superior to The Princess Bride in satirical content. Personally, I don't have the emotional attachment to it, but it's a hell of a story, no question. Give it a look-see, August 1978. Then, in 1987, they added this part to it. PPS. Alright, this is getting humiliating. Have you been reading in the papers about the trade problems America's having with Japan? Well, maddening as this may be, since it reflects on the reunion scene, we're also having trade problems with Florin, which it turns out is our leading supplier of cadmium, which also turns out NASA is panting for. So all Florinese American litigation, which includes the 13 lawsuits, has officially been put on hold. What this means is that the reunion scene, for now, is caught between our need for cadmium and diplomatic relations between the two countries. But at least the movie got made. Mandrake Shaw was shown it, and word reached me, he even smiled once or twice. Hope springs eternal. Unfortunately, that killed the reunion scene. Goldman passed away a few years ago, and with that, any hope of the reunion scene officially ever being released died with it, and so the reunion scene has now sort of just been lost forever. So now all we have is this thing that he sends out that goes along with it. We have, if you go online, you can find people who will hypothesize, and they'll come up with like fan fiction versions of it, but his official one, because of lawsuits he never actually released, As far as I know, deleted, disappeared, whatever is gone. So there's your reunion scene, if you will. Oh, if you look in the front cover of your book where there's a map, in the old cover of the book, the one that looked like this, they had a different map on the inside of it. So I was just sort of showing you the difference between the two maps. I did like a little scanning thing, because it used to be like stuck right in the middle of the book. You know, like a little mappy thing that was there. And so I was just trying to show you guys what that mappy thing looked like. With the fire swamp bits, as you get into it, there are, when he goes farther into it, the fire swamp, what, you guys know the dangers of the fire swamp?
Like
Giant
fire
rodents.
geysers.
No
Like
sand.
So there's the fire that comes shooting out, and
the
Giant
quicksand.
rodents.
No sand.
The snow.
snow sand, where you sink down into it,
And the
and
monster thing.
Giant rodents.
Rouse.
ROUS's,
And it bites him.
which stands for
Rodents.
rodents
Unusual
of
size.
unusual
Rats
size.
of unusual size.
And then they do eventually get out of the fire swamp, and they eventually meet the six-fingered man. And we finally
cow.
find out who the six-fingered man is.
It's
And then we're going to have other things that happen. There's going to be more major deaths of characters and stuff like that. So, again, tomorrow, I am not planning on talking about book. Monday, I am talking about end of book. If you're not there, it's not the end. I will give away a few spoilers, but it's sort of going to be a different kind of conversation as we get to it on Monday. 8. Total 8. But 5 is the only super long one. 6, 7, and 8 are much, much shorter. They're closer to normal-ish. There is parts after chapter 8. If you find the book interesting, there's like a post thing where he explains stuff. There's got also, if you find it interesting, there's Buttercup's Baby. And Buttercup's Baby I will talk about on Monday, but it's up to you if you want to do it or not. What's that? That's why it's called Buttercup's Baby.
I thought Buttercup Baby was like a metaphor.
Yeah.
The like Wesley.
Gotcha.
It's a weird sound.
No, it's an actual baby that she has.
with who?
I can't tell you that. I can tell you it's with Buttercup.
Nice.
But giving away the other part takes away some of it.
Abraham Lincoln.
It is with, oh, you're right ahead, man. That Lincoln Buttercup thing, that no one saw that coming. Hashtag spoiler. Matthew.
We're supposed to read it 288.
Is that the end of the book?
No, that's chapter
That's
6.
not.
So, at this point, it's just end of book.
That's.
It's just by next week some point.
We already finished the book.
Mom's stepdad's
Wait, chapter 5 is the end of the book, basically. Just right. Just finish. Just pull finish. Just pull finish.
Caroline or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make it better?
What did you say? Finish the book.
Finish it, baby.